Hello again, everybody. My name is John D Healy. My podcast is called It's Good to Talk. Been doing podcasts now almost 4 years, 200 podcasts done or more. I started when I produced this book for my friend Stoney McGurn, and that's how it all started. His life story all up until recently. People ask, is he still alive? He's very much alive and very active, so Stoney is probably still writing books. Sponsors are Liffey Van Lines, a moving company here in New York City, and they've been around a long time too, as long as Jeopardy. When it comes to moving, let Liffey do the lifting. Shout out to Paddy McCarthy of the Irish Examiner USA, a newspaper where you get all of the events coming up, especially now coming into the holidays and on into March. Don't miss that paper. You get it online, even you can get it in Roscommon, you can get it in Mayo, and keep abreast with what's happening in New York. Shout out as well to Tobias Burke, LTV Mechanical. The weather's getting cold, and Tobias Burke, they do heating and ventilation. Heating is the word now, and Tobias Burke tells me, adjust your little thermometers so you're not too hot, not too cold. Now, I always have a guest on. Today is no exception. Another man from County Roscommon. I love having Irish people on. And he has produced a book. And I bought the book on Amazon. So now you know the book is on Amazon. I wonder if I had turned right. Well, my guest is Haulie Grady. And this is his book that he produced. So Haulie Grady, welcome to New York City and this podcast.
Tell us about you and your background, where you were born and how you grew up. And then tell us, we'll get to the book. And people can buy the book. So good to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Hello, John. It is good to be on.
Here.
Thank you very much. It's good to be on your radio. Yeah, as you rightly said, my name is Haulie Grady. I was born in a place near Lissacolloch, a village called Clonca, County Roscommon. In 1953, I came into this world. And my background was in the farming business at the beginning, and continued on from there. Then I went to England. I came back then and I became a scaffolder. And I was working all my life until I more or less had to retire 2 years ago. About 2 years ago to the day, I got a slight heart attack one night when I went to bed after coming home from work. And my good wife, Carmel, had to get me to the hospital, and Professor Sharif said that I had to have a stint. So when he discharged me from the hospital the following day, he said, no more heavy lifting for you and Michael. My name was Michael, all Haulies. There's not many who's left now, but all Haulies are Michaels. They were christened Michael. Because the reason for that being, Mihal is the Gaelic Irish for Michael. So if you like, Haulie and Mihal. So that's how the Haulie came on me. So when I was told I couldn't do any more work or heavy lifting, I said, that's it. So my working days are over. So I didn't mind. I'd worked hard all my life, so I didn't mind retiring. That's what I thought, at least. And
well, I got stopped. I got your book yesterday. I started reading. I've most of it read, by the way. So we'll come up to speed in a minute with where you are now. But let's go back at the very, very beginning of you growing up, the young fella on the farm. It was a typical self-sufficient farm. I take it from the way I'm reading this. So you had a good work ethic. And I know last week I had Emer and Evelyn on here. We were talking about DJ Carey, which was another book called The Dodger. And he was a little fella when he was a little fella, and then he became a big fella, I suppose. So when you were born, let's give us the background. Let's talk about your dad and your mother and siblings and growing up on a farm. Let's give us a little background.
Okay, John. Well, yeah, there was two of us, myself and my sister Lily. She's 3.5 years older than I am. My mum and dad, they were, well, as they say here in Ireland, you'd have heard the saying, they were getting on a bit when they got together. And my dad was, I think he was 47, and my mother was 36 when they got married. Lily was born first, and 3.5 years later, I came along. My dad was 52 when I was born. So, but thanks be to God, I still had a long life with him, because I had 40 long years with him before he passed away. Thanks be to God, because we were very close. I was very close to both my parents and my sister, of course. He taught me all I know about the farming at a young age, because unfortunately I had to retire from school younger than they had intended me to do so. Because he took ill. He went he cycled out to the doctor 1 or 2 days before Christmas, and the doctor said to him, how did you get out here, Johnny? Well, he said, I cycled out, doctor. How else would you think I'd have came? Well, he said, don't cycle home. He said, get a hackney to bring you home. You've got a very bad heart. So it wasn't a very nice news for to come home to his wife, my mother, Christmas Eve, but that was it. So I had to stay at home then and give mom a hand doing the farming, while my dad retired to the lighter work inside. And that went on for a few years. And after a couple of years, he got back out on it again and he started working.
Okay.
And he lived for a long time after that and died of old age, not
That's
from
good.
a bad heart.
Well, that's really good to know, and that's nice news, and it's nice news for you as well.
Oh, but
Sometimes you get a decision, and you think it's the end of the world, and it's not the end of the world. So I wish you well going forward in your health. So reading your book, you have a lot of that in it, like the farm, and we're kind of familiar with all that, self-sufficient, and with hens and ducks and cows and geese and
yes.
all of that stuff.
Going to England, John, was actually in the winter time. It was inside in a sugar
Right.
beet factory.
Yeah, going to England for summer jobs. Was there a whole bunch of people even from your area, or
No,
was it just
it was a seasonal thing. It was in the sugar beet. It was actually in the winter time, John. We'd go maybe the end
wintertime?
of
Okay,
October and return back then maybe the end of January or early February.
okay,
And it was beautiful. It was
yeah,
lovely because the winters was very tough in Ireland back when I was growing up as a youngster.
okay.
And it was
And
lovely to get
also,
inside.
what I have you like that work itself, was it hard physical work? You were only probably 16, 17 years old at the time.
There was hard physical work throughout the factory, but fair play to the English guys that was looking after the factory. They'd pick out the younger fellas that could do the lighter jobs that was probably warm, but not much lifting to it. But you had to be fast
Okay,
and fit. Whereas the older
okay.
chaps got the heavier jobs, which was stacking the pulp nuts and all that stuff to carry on.
So, I don't have much knowledge of that. I'm familiar with people going to picking potatoes, as that was a lot of
Yes.
teams, crews and teams went from parts of Mayo, and that was kind of seasonal as well. Actually, one of my schoolmates used to miss a month or two from school because he'd be with his parents to go there for picking potatoes. And
Mm.
they have the same thought as you. They were very happy with the foremen and the English people and the people they worked for. They were treated well. They got paid well. And I got that from a painter from Westport who was on here a couple of weeks back too. And he had all good things to say about the English. And it's nice to hear a positive feedback. A lot of Irish Americans think we hate the British. No, we don't hate the British. We hate what happened. But that was 800 years ago. We cannot keep a grudge, or that's called the Irish Alzheimer's. We forget everything except a grudge. So tell us a little bit more about your day in working in the beat. Had it to be picked outdoor? Were you inside or outside?
No, John, it was all inside work, inside in a factory. I was doing a
Okay,
job. It was named the Spinners, and it'd be going at 100 mile an hour. And I tell you, you had to be young and fit. So I was very young, and I was fit at the time, and I was well able
okay,
for the job. And it was lovely. And it was all the foremen and the supervisors and all. They'd be all English, and I could not say
okay,
a wrong word to them. They were beautiful people.
okay. Beautiful, good. And the worker, were they all Irish guys that was working with you?
90% of the workers that would be from Ireland. There would be some English
Okay,
guys, but not a lot.
okay,
All the supervisors and the foremen, they would be all English. But
okay. And what part of England was this?
it was in Worcestershire,
Like
a
what part of
place called
England?
Kidderminster.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was good. So then you did that over several seasons, I guess. And then you came back home to Ireland and you're back working with your father and mother on the farm, I assume. So you're kind of a system in place. Is that right?
So I came back. I told them my main ambition to go to England, I needed to get some type of transport because my mode of transport was a
Okay.
bad bike until I went to England.
Okay.
So we didn't
Okay.
have a lot of money back then. And the only thing, we were the same as our neighbours. Everybody was, as they say, in the same boat.
Okay.
So
Well,
my
good.
main thing to go to England was to try and get enough money together that I could buy a car. Because I live in a fairly
Okay.
remote part of Ireland, and the nearest town is 7 miles away. And,
Okay.
as a young fella getting to be a young teenager, I was getting to the stage that I needed to get to the towns and get to the dances and
Right.
whatever. So the only way
Well,
that sorry, John.
I'm saying a car is a great ambition for a young lad like yourself. You're 16 or 17. A car is something you would save up for. You're probably at that age, you're going to dances. You want to chat up to young girls. And if you have a car, you have an advantage, because they need a lift home or whatever. And, then it doubles your chances of picking up a girlfriend, I suppose. So other work that went on from reading in your book is you got into making side money, I'll call it. You were cutting turf a lot, okay?
That's all that.
So talk to us about cutting the turf. You cut turf for yourself, your own family, and then you cut extra turf to make money. And that's hard work too.
That was very hard work for a young fella. Now, that was before I went to England at all. That was at the very beginning. I was too young. You weren't supposed to get into the sugar beet factory until you reached the age of 21.
Right.
But I sneaked in anyway when I was just turning 16. Because I was a big, tall man. At 16, I was almost as big as I am now, probably 6'2". I was as thin as a lass, but I was big, and I got away with it. And it gave me the opportunity then to save up that extra few pounds. And I can remember clearly, on the 16th of February 1972, I bought my first second-hand car. I had £500 in my pocket from England, and the car costed £495. So I had £5 left over.
Okay, very good too.
Yeah.
No, you had to get the car insured. You have to get insurance on the car.
As I said, I had 500 in my pocket. I had 200 left at home for tax and insurance. So I had everything calculated.
Okay. And so you were ready for the road then in that car?
I was ready for the road then. I was a happy guy coming home with my second-hand Model 1100. I can still remember 66,000 miles on the clock, and the price of it, and the number of it was RIZ 470. I can remember that as clear as I only bought it yesterday.
It sounds like I think if that car could write a book, that car would have a story too, I'm sure.
No doubt. No doubt.
No doubt. It's correct indeed. Well, as I said, every young fella, that's their ambition, to get a car. And I know one thing about cutting turf, because I cut turf too. And if you're a tall lad cutting turf, it's a bit of a backbreaker. You want to be at the chiropractor or a sports massage therapist like we have here in Manhattan. Shout out to Adam Cardona there, Park Avenue. I don't know if he has many clients that are cutting turf, but a sore back or a bad back is not nice to have, trying to cut turf. So let's get back to you again. Haulie Grady is my guest all the way from Roscommon today, in his book, if you haven't got it yet. It's called I Wonder If I Turned Right. I like the title. The title makes me think of all the opportunities you had, and missed opportunities too, in life, where you make a decision one way or you make a decision another way. Whichever decision you make, that's it. Life is not a rehearsal. You go down one road, that's the road you're going down. So as I was reading this book yesterday, your wife now, Carmel, you were dating a long time. As I was turning the pages, I was wondering, will you ever marry her, And I got halfway through the book, and I was glad to see that you finally, you didn't go down on one knee, but you sat on the sofa and you proposed to her. Tell us a little bit about the dances that time, both here and in England, and social life.
Well, the dances back then, John, it was completely different than what it is now. You went into a dance hall, all the big bands would be in the dance hall. There's Larry Cunningham, Big Tom, Margot, all them bands would be there. The ladies stayed one side of the hall, and the gentlemen or the young fellas stayed the other side. And they usually play maybe 3 or 4 songs in each set. And it would be a waltz, maybe 3 waltzes, 3 jives, or 3 foxtrots. And the foxtrots, so if you wanted to use the term, if you wanted to chat up somebody, the foxtrot was a great dance for to do that, because you were
that was like a slow waltz.
It was like a slow waltz, and you could talk to the girl you were dancing with. So it was remarkable when the 3 songs would be sung. The band leader would say, "That's it for now, folks. Your next dance coming right up." And they all parted, unless you had got lucky that you got a nice girl, and she might stay on for another dance with you. And if you did, you had your chances was looking pretty good then. That's when you could tell her that you had a car outside, and would you like a lift home? And it worked in some cases, not in them all, mind you, John, but it worked in some cases.
Sounds to me, Hall, you were like a winner there, If she didn't want you, she might want to lift home,
Well, I ended up being a winner, because it was in such a dance hall that I met my now wife for the last 46 years. It was
I think you made a right turn there, yeah.
Well, I made a right turn there, I think, surely, yes. Yes. But
very good.
Getting back to the right turn, that was in my mind. I knew exactly, if it ever came to the day that I would write a book, which I didn't think I ever would, but I knew that if I ever did write a book, that the name would be I Wonder If I Had Turned Right. Because the day that I didn't turn right, I went straight on instead of turning for home. And you can read that in the book. And that was the day
I did.
that
I've read
changed
most of
my
it,
life
and
for the rest of
I'm
my
very
life, if you
impressed
like.
with I'm impressed with the cover. I'm impressed with the.
Yes, well, the artwork was done by a local man from Ballyhonus, Johnny O'Shaughnessy.
Very good, very nice, very clever.
Yeah.
The other thing I feature I like in your book is you seem to have a bit of a love for music and songs, and intermittently you have songs put in all the way along. And some of them I'm familiar with, and some of them are actually very new songs to me. But you put in a QR code at the end with all of the songs. And speaking of which, of Grady, there's another young man going to sing a song for shortly. His name is Jimmy Grady. And you mention in the book about Muhammad Ali, and his statue is at Innis, County Clare. Now, when I interviewed Dave Hanahan, who wrote a book about Muhammad Ali's time in Ireland in the 70s, fighting in Dublin, going to Clare, discovering his roots and the O'Grady's, it turns out that Muhammad Ali and my young singer are related, distant relations. So Jimmy Grady will sing a song for shortly, sing a song for you too. I think today he's going to sing The Red and Green of Mayo, which is close to Roscommon, and he is a distant relation of Muhammad Ali. And when you look at him, you'll see the features. His father is a Grady, very good-looking man, and I'm assuming you might be related to Muhammad Ali as well.
Well,
What's the connection?
It could very well be, because as I said in the book when I was explaining about Muhammad Ali, I do recall my first cousins from America coming back to Ireland to visit their uncle, my father, and they'd be inquiring about their roots and all this, which is very good and very nice. And I recall one of his nieces asking him one day, Johnny, is the Grady's always around Roscommon? Did he originate from here? And my dad said, no. He said, as far as I know, he said, the O'Grady's that's round here came from County Innis and County Clare. And he said, I believe he said that in the mid 80s, 1860 or 1840, they immigrated to America, but one of them didn't go, and he came back to around this area, he said. And he feels and he thinks that that's where the origin of the Grady started, around the Roscommon, around Clonagh and Cloncath, where I come from. And it was only then when I seen Muhammad Ali being made a free man of Clare, and I got to know a bit of his history, that I put two and two together, and I said, there's quite a possibility that I may be related. I'm not saying I am, but I could very well be.
I can see, I was telling this to Jimmy's father too, I can see that the Grady's here, Roscommon Grady's and the Clare Grady's, and Jimmy's father here, Jerry Grady, you seem to have the good looks. But I think the darker skinned Grady's have it when it comes to the boxing. On that note, Jimmy Grady is going to sing a song.
Oh, the green and red of Mayo, I can see it still. It's soft and craggy boglands, it's tall majestic hills, where the ocean kisses Ireland and the waves caress its shore. Oh, the feeling it came over me to stay forevermore, forevermore. From its rolling coastal waters, I can see Crowpatrick's Peak, where one Sunday every summer the pilgrims climb the reek, where St. Patrick in its solitude looked down across Clew Bay, and with the ringing of his bells called the faithful there to pray, there to pray. Oh, take me to Clare Island, the home of Granuel. Its water harbour fishes from the herring to the whale. And now I must depart it, and reality is plain. May the time not pass so slowly, for I'll set sail again, set sail
Jimmy Grady, thank you very much, and keep up the singing. I don't think you'll make it as a boxer, and you don't need to get in the ring. Don't get in a fight, and you won't have to box. As my father said to me, if I can't box, I better learn how to run. Okay, Haulie Grady is my guest today. You wrote this book. What? I wonder if I had turned right. So far, I think you're doing okay. So talk a little bit more, Ben. We've covered the background in England. We've covered the growing up. We've covered the dance halls. Now it gets more, you got into a block lane and brick lane. I'm curious about that because some places I'm familiar with where you were block lane in Killala, in Asahi. How did all that block lane, and that's like outdoor physical work again?
Well, that came around, John, by complete accidents. I was in the public house one Saturday evening, and I asked a guy, a mate of mine, was there any work going around in the West? He said the only thing, he said, this where there's work now, he said, is down the Sahi. And he said, there's a guy over here, he said, and I put him in contact with you. And he came over to me, and make a long story short, he said, yes, he said, come down to Asahi, he said, next Monday morning, he said, and I can I start you as a black layer. Because there was no work for
my listeners. Asahi was a big Japanese plant and was based in Killala.
It was the biggest job that was going on in the west of Ireland at the time.
Yeah.
Even bigger.
Between Ballina and Killala.
Yeah. But just between Ballina and Killala, on the left-hand side. So I went off down on the Monday morning with my small little trowel and a level and a line, and I started as a block layer. Now, I had never laid a block before in my life, but between the jigs and the reels anyways, I was sacked, I'd say, after about 10 minutes. But I talked my way around it anyway, because they said, oh, no, that work is no good on this side. He said, it's all fair finished block. Well, I said, nobody told me that. So I said, oh, you can do fair finished block. I said, I can, to be sure. But I said, I didn't realise it. I said, it was all bricks I was laying in England, which I never laid it. Had never been to England at this stage. Oh my God, that's different. So he said, so after tea, he said, come back and take down what you have done, he said, and start off again. So I started off again, and I had a good bit of look around me, so I could see that it wasn't that much difficult as long as you just follow the work that was there. And because I got 9 or 10 weeks out of it before they finally realised that I was good enough as a block there, but I wasn't fast enough. I was trying to make things. I was trying to be too good, if you like. But anyway, that was the end of my block laying career. But I done all right. I got enough of experience. I got enough of experience, anyways, John, out of it that the following summer I bought a house in Galway that was partly built up to the windowsills, and I finished. Myself and my brother-in-law finished it off. Block laid the gable, block laid the whole lot with that bit of experience that I had got from Asahi. So it was. When you haven't enough education when you leave school, you have to pick it up as you go along. There's no other way of doing it.
That reminds me, I had Councillor Jerry Coyle on here from Mayo County Council, and he wrote a book about his grandfather, and Councillor Jerry Coyle is from a place in Mayo called Usala.
I know it.
I know it very well, so I cannot say it is supposed to be. It is absolutely the most beautiful scenery you could ever imagine. But Jerry's father always told his son, Councillor Jerry Coyle, scenery and beauty won't put food on the table. You have to learn how to work, and you got to go where the work is. So that's a shout out there to Councillor Jerry Coyle. I hope he's doing well for himself too. And his son is in Chicago. He's a well-known world title boxer, Henry Coyle.
Yes.
So 2 shout outs there. So coming back to you again, so far you're making all the right turns here on this interview. It's good to talk, johndhealy.com. People want to get the book or get it on Amazon. So moving on from block lane, now you go on to scaffolding. Now scaffolding, I know they're kind of related. How did you get into that? And I know you worked in Knock building the church, or what did you do in Knock on the church? Knock for a miracle, I guess.
Well, no, but funny now, as you mentioned that, there was a miracle in Knock with my mother, but I won't go into to detail on that now. My mother, which suffered terribly from arthritis, and my wife brought her to Knock, and there was a complete change in her from there on until she died. But as I say, that's all mentioned in my book, and it can be read what happened. You could put it down to a miracle, I would say. But my part of Knock, I went there, and that's where I met again, I went there. I got into under false pretenses as a scaffolder because I had no idea what scaffolding was. I didn't even know the name of it, to be honest with you, John. I didn't even know what scaffolding meant. But again, when I met the guy, the foreman that was on the job, he said to the general foreman, he said, I know these two men. He said, another lad was with me, Willie, and he said, you want to find two better scaffolders west of the Shannon. And what could I say? I couldn't pull them by the arm and say, oh, gee, Tom, we're not scaffolders. So again, I said, we'll chance it. And we got on there as scaffolders. And we became good scaffolders because we were starting on the ground and we were working our way up as the building was being built. And it was there then that I was fortunate enough to meet who became my business partner in life when he formed the company. Can I say the name?
Sure, of course. Please do. Conor Scaffolding is a huge organization, yeah.
It was a very, very big, particularly back then, because it was the only scaffolding company in the west of Ireland. The reason being called Connacht, it covered all the 5 counties and further afield, actually. But that's where I met my partner, Michael Murray. The Lord be good to him. He has passed away, and we became great buddies. And when he formed the company, Conor Scaffolding, a few months later, I joined him as a partner of his, and we remained partners right up until he passed away in 2017.
Yeah, well, in fairness, there are a lot of big companies and big names in Mayo when it comes to like branding and that. There's like, I think Connacht Gold is a butter company, something like Kerrygold Butter. You have O'Hara's, the bread company in Foxford, huge indeed. And a lot of big names when it comes to like success in Knock. So you were in Knock probably around the same time as Pope John Paul II made a visit there. Am I right in saying that? That'd be 1979.
No, well, you're correct. We were there, but we were building the basilica in 1974-75. And it was after that then that Monsignor Horden decided that he was going to build an airport. And the first one that he was going to bring into it would be Pope John Paul II. But now there was more big work to be done then to get ready for the Pope's visit. And our company was formed by then, and we got the contract. It was our first big job to get putting up the scaffolding for the Pope's visit. And
well, pardon the pun, that was a blessing.
That was a blessing in disguise.
That was a blessing.
Yeah. And we moved along from there then, and we got serious work from that. We got great advertisements, obviously, because that was shown all over Ireland, all over the world. And of course, we had our signboards here and there stuck along that the cameras would pick them up as they were. And it was great. You could almost call it free advertisements on every television in the world.
It was free advertising and it was good marketing, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, good, very good marketing. Speaking of advertising and marketing and scaffolding, just over a week ago now, sadly, in Hong Kong, one of the high buildings there had a tragic loss of human life, and the scaffolding they were using was made from bamboo. And bamboo scaffolding is very common in like places like Thailand and Hong Kong and that. Number one, it's very, very light. Bamboo is very light. It's very strong. So it has all those qualities. But unfortunately, when it comes to fire, it's a pity it wasn't fire retardant and those people lost their life. Now, I'll give you another take on scaffolding here in New York. Recently, the Louis Vuitton building down here on Fifth Avenue, and they're clients of Liffey Van Lane's moving company. So they work in certain ways. Like if they're doing a renovation on their interior store, they would hire companies like Liffey Moving Company, and everything is taken out of the store, every piece of furniture, every chair, every countertop, and it's taken out and put in storage. Then the electrician, the carpenters, as you like to say, they all move in and they do what has to be done. And then when that's all done, everything goes back in again. But recently they're doing scaffolding outside the building, and the scaffolding goes up and it's covering the whole facade of the building. Generally speaking, scaffolding looks kind of ugly. Some genius, and I think you'll like this idea, has come up with that new system, the wrap. So when you look now at what should be scaffolding, it's covered, and for Christmas, you see a beautiful design of a gift box. So Iconic Scaffolding should be selling billboards on their scaffolding for an extra revenue income. So if you're not doing it already, you're doing it. But you mentioned there about advertising Connacht. Connacht Scaffolding is a strong brand, and I think it'll always be a strong brand. Liffey Moving Company is a strong brand. Strong brands take a while to build and develop, but then they're there forever. I'm going to get a few more sentences off you and a bit more chat out of you before we wrap it up. My guest, Haulie Grady, wrote the book, What If I Turned Right? So far, you haven't made any bad turns. So give us a little bit more of where you see Conor Scaffolding going. I assume, who's running Conor Scaffolding now? Let's talk about them.
Yeah, well, when I had to retire, as I said at the beginning, because I got my stint in, I had to retire, and my son came home from New Zealand, or no, from his wife
Very
is
good.
from New Zealand, but he came home from Perth himself and his wife, and my little grandson Mikey, and he's
Good.
running my part of Conor Scaffolding now. But
Fantastic.
the late Mick Murray's two sons are the other two
Good.
directors. So it's still the same thing, three directors
That's
now,
nice.
where there was only just myself and Michael for many a year, you know. But it's
That's
still
good. Well,
going
it
strong.
has grown to a big organization.
Oh, it has. Well, at the peak there, when the Celtic Tiger was, I think we had about 55 employees back then,
Okay.
and a few, 2 or 3 girls working in the office that kept the show on the road.
Okay.
But now I think we're, as far as I know, our Declan's running with about 20 employees, because obviously things aren't
Okay.
as busy now, you know. Still busy,
Right.
but
they probably have more efficiencies as well, you know.
they have more efficiency now with
They have more
teleporters and the
efficiencies
living
in
out
how
work.
they manage work. Yeah. And that's good. And like everything gets changed and like, you know, more modern and everything like that. But it's
Yeah,
still the foundation that you and your partner made. And they always say, as you well know from business and construction, a good foundation is very, very important in any business. And if you need a good foundation and you need a cornerstone always, otherwise everything can come tumbling down like that building in Hong Kong, unfortunately. One
yes.
question I have for you in the book, I know it's going back a little bit in the middle of the book. When you started first in your early days in England, you did a little job for a guy paving slabs, and your friend was supposed to help you, and he never showed up on the day, and you had to do the job all on your own. It was a Sunday, but I enjoyed that bit of the book because it was very much showed your spirit of being an entrepreneur, and your friend didn't show up, and you went and you did the entire job on your own of laying the slabs, the whole thing. You gave the customer only £100 was the deal, which seemed like a lot at the time because it was only whatever X amount of slabs. And I often wondered in the book, I didn't get to that bit, did you get paid for that job?
Yes, John, I got paid again. As I said earlier, it was an Englishman, and fair play to them. I'll have to say, anything I can say about them is praise them. I had moved on. I could only do the one job, because while I was doing that, what I didn't know, I had got the call up for the sugar beet. So I had to make a decision. Was I going to Kidderminster to be working inside for the winter, or was I going to continue on with my paving job, which would be outside for a bad cold winter? So again, I made a decision there that I turned left instead of right, and I went to Kidderminster for the inside work. But that was only a relatively small job, and it was actually a Saturday afternoon. We couldn't start it until after the other lads had finished, because I wasn't supposed to be on site now, because I had given in my notice to start on the Kidderminster job. So I went out. I remember quite clearly going out at 2 o'clock on the bus, and went up with the intention of meeting my mate that was going to give me a hand, but he wasn't there. So, and it was lashing rain as well. I said a different word there, but it was lashing rain, and it would have been very easy. There was a pub just down the road from it as well. It would have been very easy to go into the pub and say, to hell with this man and his £100 and his slabs. But no, I said, here goes, I'm going to have a go at it. And I went at it myself, and I had it finished on my own by, I think, 6 or half 6 that evening. But now your man wasn't there. I knew he wouldn't be there, but he had said that he would pay us on the Monday to call in for my money. So when I came back after finishing the job, I met the man that was supposed to be with me, and I can still recall him. He was all dressed up, and I came back tired, wet and weary. And I said, where were you today?
Sure.
Well, he said, I was figuring, he said that it starting at 2 o'clock, that we wouldn't have a hope of finishing it. There was too much in it. And he said, and then the day was bad. Well, I said, will you do me a favour? I said, when you go in there Monday morning, I said, will you go to that man and get my £100 off him? Why, he said, who was with you? I said, there was nobody with me. Oh, by God, he said, that was enough afternoon's work. So he went on the Monday, and he got the £100, and there wasn't a word about it.
Good.
And when I met him again, I got my money back off.
Very good. Well, I
But
tell
as you
you,
said there,
as they
John,
say,
it might seem that was supplying the slabs and the sand, and
yeah.
it was supplying labour as well, like the material and labour.
Well, as they say here on television on a program called Shark Tank, you made £100 all on your own. You probably had materials for £25 or £30. So you had a very, very good net profit because all the profit went to you and you deserved it, you earned it. As a matter of fact, I feel talking to you, Hugh Grady, everything in your life you have worked for and you've worked for very hard and you deserve to take it a little bit easier now. But it's a credit to talk to you and it's a credit. I commend you on producing the book and I wonder if I turned right. Well, in my opinion, Haulie Grady, you certainly turned right and you've made no mistakes so far. I wish Conor Scaffolding all the best going forward, and I wish you, Haulie Grady, all the best going forward too. I feel there could be a few more books in you. The songs I will work around, and I might give a copy of this book to Jimmy Grady to figure out some of the songs because he likes some of the old style songs too.
They're the old songs that I learned from my father. Taught me all them old songs when I was a young little gossoon, only about a foot high. When I'd come home, well, maybe 3 foot high, when I come home from school in the evening, and he taught me every song that's there, apart from two. There are two a bit more recent, still old enough, but like there's the Valley in Auchinore in there. There's the Hills of Glinswilly, the Boatmen of Lough Key, the Woodlands of Lough Lynn. Oh, there's some lovely real old songs. There's 5 of them unaccompanied, and there are 5 of them with music. So
okay,
I think
fantastic.
Pardon?
Jimmy Grady plays the guitar as well, so Jimmy, this is going to be your Christmas gift, by the way, after I wrap it. Now he knows what he's getting for Christmas. Anyways, good to talk. That's the name of the podcast. JohnDHealy.com. If anyone wants to look up over 200 podcasts there, JohnDHealy.com. And JH for News, if you want to send me any comments. When you get this podcast, there's a little slot in the bottom. Put in comments and feedback. And if you have questions for Haulie Grady, send them to my email and I'll get in touch with Haulie Grady. Now I know where to get him. So I'm going to sign off in my Irish language. Shin Scale, that means that's a story. Agus Beis Scéala, that means there'll always be another story. So Guji Shin, until then, as we say in Gaelic, I'm going to say slán and goodbye. Haulie, good to talk to you and thank you for being on. It's good to talk.